the show for gamers, by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo, and it's the busiest time of year for game releases, and this week is no exception. Medal of Honor leaves World War II behind and goes to Afghanistan.
Plus, from the makers of Heavenly Sword comes Enslaved.
And we pit FIFA 11 against Pro Evo 2011. Which one has the maddest ball skills? Can you guess the game for this week?
Everybody was
High five. No,
That was your left hand. We suck at high five.
Just over a month ago, The Lord of the Rings Online made the switch from subscription only to free to play. Even though the game now only makes money from microtransactions and optional VIP subscriptions, revenue has doubled, and the number of active players has increased fourfold. And this is just the beginning. No longer the exclusive realm of budget-looking online games, more and more ambitious free-to-play games are heading our way, such as Firefall, a slick new online shooter from some of the creators of World of Warcraft. Gearbox president Randy Pitchford has estimated that George Broussard lost between 20 and 30 million US dollars of his own money making Duke Nukem Forever. Broussard spent over a decade overseeing the game's production at 3D Realms before the studio ran out of cash and Gearbox took over development. In other Duke news, Pitchford has expressed concern that the game could fall foul of government censors worldwide.
I'm looking for some alien toilet to park my bricks. Who's first?
Speaking at a recent press event in London, Pitchford expressed the hope that publisher 2K Games will not be punished for his team's creative license, before showing clips of the game that featured female nudity, coarse language, and the Duke punching an alien square in the extraterrestrials. One of the greatest dynamic duos in all of gaming has reunited. Now that San Francisco developer Double Fine has hired Ron Gilbert, he'll be once again working alongside Tim Schafer, his comrade in arms from the glory days of LucasArts. The pair worked on such legendary games such as The Secret of Monkey Island and Day of the Tentacle before going their separate ways.
Take on the world.
Schafer's startup Double Fine has already given the world Psychonauts and Brutal Legend, and Gilbert's latest game Deathspank has caused quite a stir. Now that these two creative giants are back together, who knows what they'll come up with next.
Good game.
Hi there everybody, Martin Tyler along with Andy Gray here. Welcome to the game today.
After a long tussle with Pro Evolution Soccer, last year's FIFA 10 really solidified its spot as the #1 football franchise. Now both games have a new release, let's see how they stack up against each other.
First up, let's go over what's new in FIFA 11. Goalkeepers are now fully playable for an entire match. There's more personality to the animation and control of star footballers, and a new career mode rolls together the Be a Pro and Manager modes into one, with a new option to be a player manager.
Those are the key changes, but there are a few tweaks under the hood that FIFA fans will appreciate. You can now watch and save replays of all the match highlights at the end of a game, and that was seriously overdue. And when playing in career mode, you can opt to control your entire team on the pitch instead of just your virtual pro.
The way your virtual pro gains ability improvements has been made a lot more fun. There are a whole bunch of challenges to crack called accomplishments. These are things like using particular ball skills, scoring in very specific ways, or simply dribbling past opponents. And completing these is how you gain your stat bonuses. You really have to work for your improvements now, which makes it that little bit more immersive.
Yeah, and you're rewarded for performing like a real football player now. It's not always about scoring, and it's great the game recognises that. I love the way these pop up like unlocking an achievement. It's so satisfying the way you rack them up. Now when it comes to presentation, FIFA still looks amazingly realistic. All the player animations are liquid smooth and you can really get a rhythm going. Players do cheeky little back heels or flick the ball onto teammates, all just through sweet timing with the controls.
Now, I will admit that I'm not enough of a football fanatic to really appreciate the subtleties of a sim like this, so I did play with all the control options set to assist. But you had fun with the full manual control though, didn't you?
Yeah, it takes a while to get used to it. I think though if you're playing against a friend, it's definitely the way to go because you just have to be so precise with your timing and your aiming and power, and it can be frustrating at first, but when you get one of those shots against a friend using manual control, it's just so satisfying.
I didn't really get the appeal of playing through a full game as a goalkeeper though, which you can now also do as your pro career. It seems that there's a lot of time spent watching the game take place up the other end of the pitch, and then when you finally get to see some action, it's all over very quickly.
Here's the cross. Good header. It's a goal!
Yeah, it's not the most compelling feature. In fact, it's quite boring. I even took my goalie for a bit of a walk now and then. Get some fresh air. Just gets really stuffy in the goalkeeper in the box.
The goalkeeper has decided to take matters into his own hands, or should I say feet here.
It is good though that online now you can have a completely 100% human-controlled team. And also the timing for the dives as a goalkeeper just feels right.
FIFA 11 certainly has all the polish and pizzazz of a TV broadcast, and the commentary is still so real.
I just think that, there's much been made of, like Manchester United, for instance, 76,000 in there, and sometimes you can't hear a pin drop.
It seems obvious that all the changes they've made this year are further refinements of a seriously great football game, so I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it's really hard to fault. I guess you could say it is a touch on the sluggish side, but it's such a dynamic simulation with all the bells and whistles. I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Now it's Pro Evolution Soccer's turn. This 2011 installment of the game promises a complete overhaul as a reaction to FIFA's runaway success last year. But will Konami come through with the goods badge?
Well, this is interesting. It's certainly not more of the same old. They've made some real advancements here. Just in terms of how it looks. When a match kicks off, there's that camera tilt, and if you squint your eyes a bit, it's probably the most realistic the series has looked for some time.
Yeah, that blur effect they have in the replays is quite effective, but overall, it's still a bit rough around the edges, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, compared to FIFA, but it's not bad. Some of the player likenesses now are quite good. There is still an arcadiness to the animations as players scramble on top of the ball, but I do love those rather questionable celebrations.
The way the players react on the pitch, the AI just didn't seem quite as convincing as FIFA 11. The players just seemed a little bit slow to react to the ball at their feet sometimes.
I agree that this doesn't feel as polished as FIFA, but I don't want to rag on Pro Evo too much because I found this version really addictive. It's definitely hard adjusting to Pro Evo's style of passing. You can really rocket the ball along the pitch with a lot of power. In fact, the pace of the game is way faster than FIFA. And there's now a power meter on the screen every time you kick the ball, so you can better judge where you're likely to place it. The Pro Evo AI backs off a little bit more than FIFA, so the passing system works really well, and they do all these little nice one-touch moves. The build-up play is great.
And
And a chance!
I know FIFA say they've added more player personality to their game, but it still feels more pronounced here. Like how lesser players feel really slow and inaccurate, but stars like Cristiano Ronaldo can totally tear it up.
And he's going for it.
That's always been the good thing about Pro Evo, that kind of detail. And for me, FIFA is now the simulation game, and Pro Evo is fantasy football. The commentary, however, is ridiculous.
He's onside. Offside.
One big new feature is that you can now take your Master League online and go up against other players over multiple seasons. Unfortunately, we were reviewing this game before other players could go online, so we couldn't really check out how well this worked. But it's a promising feature, don't you think, Badge?
Yeah, although Konami do have a track record for poor online performance, so I'm going to remain skeptical until we can test it out further. I do like the idea, though, of negotiating transfer fees with other players online. That's neat. I think that the redesigned formation screens are excellent too, because you can just drag and drop player positions now.
I also really liked the player creation tools here. It just seemed to have more personality to FIFA's more generic-looking dudes.
I think this is a solid Pro Evo for this year, Hex. There's nothing that stands out and says this is an amazing feature, but I enjoyed the snappy passing game, and I want to go back to my Barjo Superstar striker and try and fight for another contract.
His second portion of the match here, and he has to go. A bad tackle. I think he knew as soon as he made it that he was on his way.
I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think FIFA is still ahead. EA has all the official club licenses for starters. Konami really need to work on that. But I think Pro Evo 2011 really made it a much harder decision this year, which bodes well for a truly epic battle next time. So I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
And if you weren't a game developer, what would you be doing?
それは俺いろいろ話したと思うんだよね。まず基本的には僕はギャンブラーになりたかったからね。
Good game.
Based loosely on the ancient Chinese tale Journey to the West, Enslaved follows the story of two humans, Monkey and Trip, who meet after a slave ship crash lands. Determined to get back to her community, Trip enslaves Monkey with an electronic slave headband so she can control and command him to help her on a journey.
Get this thing off, or I'm gonna rip your head off.
No.
No? You think I'm screwing with you?
You man, stop!
If all of this is starting to sound a little bit familiar, you may remember the old TV show Monkey, which was also based on Journey to the West. I have to say, Barjo, it's nice to see a post-apocalyptic future game adopt a little bit of colour as well. I'm so used to murky greys and blacks in these kinds of games that it was a real treat to explore a world so luscious. There's this great mix of nature and futuristic technology. Visually, I was knocked out. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed though was that the character movement is a little awkward. Similar to games like Uncharted, but not nearly executed as cleanly. You'll do a lot of leaping and climbing along bits of scaffolding, pipes and rubble, and your next landing or grab point is indicated by a slight glint on the object. Kind of like Castlevania from last week, this game suffers from invisible wall syndrome. You can't really go anywhere the game doesn't want you to, and you'll spend a lot of your time just rolling forward into walls if you can't see where that next grab point is, if it's not obvious.
Yeah, it definitely could have been tidier, but man, when it works, it really works. Swinging is so easy to develop into a fluid motion. Monkey also naturally falls into cover behind walls and fallen debris. Once you're forced to team up with Trip, the majority of the game becomes about how you can navigate her through the environment. While Monkey is a meaty beast of a dude, Trip is delicate and girly and needs you to do pretty much all of the grunt work.
The other side is blocked. Can you get around and clear it? Can you take me through the mines? Can you move this? I can't get across. Can you help me? Throw me up there. Help me across. Could you get down there and lower this for me? Get up here! Monkey, carry me, please.
Yeah, it's definitely brains versus brawn here. Monkey will take out mechs and monsters, carry Trip where she can't climb, clear obstacles, hurl her across chasms where the jump is too wide for her to make. He's basically completely whipped. He's under the thumb.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been a little bit more peeved with the whole weepy, pathetic damsel concept if it wasn't for the fact that Trip is clearly the lead hacksaw of the two.
They're pretty basic, but for our purposes, they'll do the trick.
She can unlock doors, scan enemies for weaknesses, and navigate you through minefields, so you actually develop a kind of cool working relationship. Trip can create diversions for you when you need to get past turrets, and in turn you can distract them while she makes a run for it. Go team!
And it's a clever device plot-wise, you know, because at first Monkey is obligated to help Trip, and then that relationship tends to develop into something more. And if you're a fan of Monkey, then there is some fan service here that you'll enjoy, but we won't spoil anything for you.
Yeah, they handle the story very well. Motion capture king Andy Serkis of Gollum, King Kong, and of course Heavenly Sword fame has co-directed, done the voice work and all the motion capture for Monkey. And man, what a difference it makes having that kind of talent behind the polygons. There's a whole new level of detailed and emotional character interaction in this game that just made it an absolute pleasure to watch. I cared about these characters from the moment I met them, Barjo. It was exciting.
Wait here.
You're leaving me alone here? How do I know you're coming back?
You die, I die, right?
Yeah.
So I'm coming back.
Yeah, there's a real humanity to the characters, you know, and you just don't get that in other games.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to get excited about cutscenes again, and I really loved watching their relationship develop.
Oh, like a big girl.
Shut up.
Moving on to combat, and Enslaved doesn't disappoint. You have short range and wide attacks with Monkey's staff, chargeable plasma attacks, a shield block and evade. The staff also shoots plasma bullets for your ranged attack, and it holds both regular and stun ammo, which you'll need to alternate fairly regularly to take down shielded mechs. Also, by collecting tech orbs that are littered throughout the game, you can then continue to upgrade Monkey's staff, health, shield, and add to his combat repertoire.
I loved it. Combat was kept interesting and I didn't find any of those upgrades superfluous. I just loved mixing things up and it was good button combinations. Not too complicated, but not too simple either. Plus those takedown animations were just awesome. However, if I can have one potentially pointless whinge here, if there's one thing I hate doing in a game, it's collecting orbs. I feel like such a noob running around after little balls of light all the time when, Trip is trying to get on with the mission and she's telling me to hurry up and I'm like, just give me the upgrades.
My complaint is that Trip just wouldn't get off my back.
Oh, because she had you enslaved and she's commanding you all the time?
No, I mean, because literally it glitched out and she was stuck on my back for ages. I didn't find the puzzles particularly challenging though, Hex. Things like lever combinations and bridge puzzles. I still had fun plotting turret takedowns, fighting bosses, hoverboard levels, fighting bosses while on a hoverboard. There's good variety, but you'll come to realise with Enslaved that the barely brain-tickling puzzles and all the invisible walls are just keeping things in a relax and enjoy the ride kind of vibe. Nothing too taxing, but still fun.
Yeah, I mean, on platforming puzzles where the ground is crumbling beneath you, you pretty much just need to spam jump and keep the thumbstick pointed vaguely in the right direction and Monkey will find his way. It's got that action movie element that sometimes takes it out of true gamer territory, but, it's still a thrilling ride nonetheless.
Let's wrap this up, Hex. Final thoughts.
I loved it. It had its issues, but when you're willing to overlook them because the game is so enjoyable, I think that's saying a lot. It was a great adventure, and I really hope that other games treat this as the benchmark for motion capture and voice work in a game. I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I loved their last game, Heavenly Sword, so much, Hex, even though it was a bit short, so I was happy to find this a bit longer. I think some of the climbing could have been cleaned up a little bit, but I really enjoyed the ride here too, so I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
What will you do when we get there? After I take the headband off. Apart from break my neck, I mean.
Go back, I guess.
Well, our Good Game Zombie comp where you can win our zombie Brian is entering its final weeks, so if you haven't made an entry yet, you better get a shuffle on.
Yes, and all of the information on how to enter can be found on our website. Let's have a look at some of the latest entries.
Jenny! Don't leave me out again!
Everybody's dead!
That's a good game!
Come on! Bad game! Good game!
You made my hand fall off. I'm gonna eat your little finger. No!
Good game!
Got a good question there, Badge?
Certainly do, Hex. In fact, it's a multi-question from Jack in Pelverata, Tasmania.
A few questions. 1, what is AoE? It was on the review of Blur AoE Slam. 2, why do you usually review multi-platform games on 360? 3, where is a good place to get video game figurines? 4, Game Trailers normally reviews games before release, but your Reach review was way past release date. Why? Alright, well, Jack, AoE stands for Area of Effect, which means it's a weapon or power-up which has a large area that it affects, like a rocket or a grenade that has an area of effect, whereas a rifle with a single bullet doesn't.
As for why we usually review multi-platform games on the 360, the platform we review the game is mostly determined by what we get sent first, as we try to get the games as early as possible before release, and before they're available in shops. If we do get a choice, like with FPS games, we'll try and play that on a PC.
As for a good place to get figurines, well, the internets would be my first port of call. It can actually be pretty hard to track some of them down depending on what you're after, but a lot of the game stores, some collector stores, and even some comic book stores will have a limited selection of figurines, and most limited edition games now come with something cool.
As for why our Reach review was so late, well, long story short, the only chance we got to play the game ahead of its release was a hands-on session at Microsoft. This means access to only a certain part of the game and a limited time in which to play it.
We got our full copy of the game the same day you did. release day, which happened to be a Tuesday, and we have to finish recording the show on Tuesdays so that there's time for all the editing, game capturing, sound mixing, captioning, and so on.
What's going on? You guys need to get back to work ASAP. Yeah.
So for us to get it in the following week's program, we'd have only had a couple of hours to play, think about it, and record our review. So we made the decision that this would not do the game, us, or you justice. Not ideal, we agree, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles in game release land.
Good game.
It's not surprising that we're seeing less and less games set in World War II now. There's just been so many games in that theatre. And the latest to leave it behind is Medal of Honor, which is set in the very current war in Afghanistan. And it's called Medal of Honor.
The single player is about the soldier's story. And follows the journey of a group of Tier 1 operatives fighting through the sandy plains and dark caves of Afghanistan. They're the go-to guys to solve certain types of problems and situations. It's a little bit affecting playing through a war that's currently happening because, well, politics aside, as you're not defending your home territory, you're the invader.
This is the Taliban. They have spies everywhere.
Some missions put you on a helicopter turret and you jeep about a bit, but mostly you'll be part of a close team trying to survive through ambushes and missions gone wrong over the course of 2 days.
The single player and multiplayer are all based on real world locations, and heck, I quite liked being a part of a small team just going through something in a really short time frame.
Cool out on Rabbit.
Some of the stealth stuff is okay, and there are a few surprises here and there. But it's all pretty standard, push to the next cover and then move on. Heck, for some reason my teammates were completely intent on me holding my fire as much as possible, and we all know that's not going to happen, because I don't do what I'm told, because I'm a rebel.
Oh, you're such a badass.
Don't fire until I get them go. Go quiet. Move. Do we waste them? Negative. Let them pass. Damn it. Rabbit, negative means no.
You spend a lot of time waiting for your teammates to catch up to you or waiting for a scene to play out as the game loads.
If these are enemy positions, we're gonna be real busy.
They are effective team members though, and they'll kill their fair share of enemies if you give them enough time, and all that chatter in the game feels real and unrestrained. I like that.
Platoon 1, we are RTB. Reaper 3-1, we need one more pass from you.
Double tapping Y or pushing the right analog stick when your crosshair's right on an enemy will pull out a magical pistol with unlimited ammo for a quick switch, and I think that worked really well, Hex. It never really got desperate enough for you to have to do that though, and you can ask for your teammates for ammo at any time. They get a bit snarky if you don't need it.
You got more than you can carry. Use it.
We reviewed this on Xbox 360, and we're not on the final code, but single player isn't the best looking shooter out there. And you know, Hex, I was quite happily plodding through this, and then all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 hours in, it just stopped, and I didn't even have time to finish my review rice cakes.
Review rice cakes?
Yeah, it's my review and gaming snack of choice. What's yours?
I do like salted cashews. But yeah, you're right, it's really short, and that seems to be a trend that Call of Duty 4 started with War FPS, which would be fine if this was as exciting as COD 4, but it's not by a long shot. It all works, and some of the scenarios are pretty cool, but there's nothing in this campaign that you'll remember after you're done, except for the main character's name, Rabbit.
Rabbit, paint the trucks. Game over.
But the good news is this game has 2 engines, Unreal for single player, and developer DICE of Battlefield Bad Company 2 fame has the Frostbite engine for multiplayer. We've been on the beta for PC, and it's pretty good. Also, if you've been following along with the news, the opposing side are no longer referred to as the Taliban.
Yeah, and the Frostbite engines seem to run a bit better with this game than with Battlefield Bad Company 2, on my computer anyway. I think it's because there's no big vehicle battles or intense destruction. It kind of sits somewhere in between Modern Warfare 2 and Bad Company 2. The beta was limited to just a few maps, 3 classes and a few weapons, but the developers have promised lots more weapons and customization upon release, in a similar class unlock system to Bad Company 2.
The 2 modes we could test out were combat mission and sector control. Combat mission is objective-based, where one side defends points until they fall, and the other pushes forward to blow up targets or hold the new ground. It's all about teamwork, and along with the medals that pop up and dangle on your screen, it's ferociously addictive.
Sector control is standard domination, but the standout strengths of the beta, for me anyway, were the maps. They're designed with lots of tactical spots with multiple lines of sight to make sure you can't really camp it up, and choke points, which reminded me of the excellent design and multiple paths in maps like Counter-Strike's Dust 2. There's streak rewards, tactical strikes, faster bullet speed apparently, and it all shows promise.
Dice do truly excellent sound too, and you really notice it when you have a close encounter with a grenade. Final thoughts, Bajo?
You know, I think with Call of Duty Black Ops so close, I just wonder how successful the online community will be for this game. But I love Bad Company 2 so much that I'll still happily drop 60 hours into this and be completely satisfied as long as they get the unlock system right and all the server side of things works. I just love these quick kills and the way the guns feel on this engine, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and give Medal of Honor 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. There was also a mode we couldn't test out called Tier 1 mode, which required us to be online, but was in the single player menu, so we're not quite sure what that is. So I reserve the right to change my mind when the game actually comes out.
I find it's a bit weird that they just call the game Medal of Honor. I mean, usually when they do that, it's because it's a big reboot or they've done something majorly different. But this is really just Medal of Honor Afghanistan.
Or Medal of Honor Sandy Plains.
But I think from what we've played so far with the single player, you know, it's just not worth it. And even with the online, I'd have to say it's only a 6 out of 10.
Well, that's it for another show for this week, but did you guess the game for this week?
It was Kung Fu Chaos for original Xbox, and the first game developed by Ninja Theory in 2003, who were then called Just Add Monsters. The Ninja romp was occasionally humorous and quite a looker for its time, but most of the fun was in its multiplayer.
Coming up next week, it's been 2 years since we ventured from the vault, which was just enough time to finish Fallout 3, and now we have Fallout New Vegas. And Hex, I'm going dark. Complete radio silence. There's going to be a beard happening by the end of it. I'll send some photos to you after I'm done, not during, because I'll be busy playing the game.
You get a shower?
Yeah. I take the controller into the shower, I put plastic over it, I put Glad wrap over it, and I just angle the mirror, and I can keep playing while I'm in the shower. Yeah, I can't clean myself though, so just shake.
I don't want to picture that. I'm sorry I asked.
Shake all the dirt off while I'm in the shower. What's going on? Get back to work! Back to work!